I try to gauge where I'm at and what the audience is about. The first thing I'm going to say is, because there's been a lot of talk about DeSantis. DeSantis almost lost the governorship in the last race. Okay? I mean, he almost lost it. So don't take for granted, for those of you that are going to vote in Florida, don't take for granted. I mean, and look at what would have happened had he lost. What we've now learned, right, from Andrew Gillum. Wow. I mean, yeah, but think about that, okay? That's the kind of problems that we are facing, because they're going to put somebody up, and they are going to fight tooth and nail, and they're going to lie, cheat, deceive, they're going to infiltrate, they're going to spy, they're going to do all these things that have been talked about. So for Governor DeSantis, if he's listening, and he'll hear this message. Let me tell you, you better get out there and you better understand exactly what was just said, which they are going to come after you so hard. My wife and I just spoke this morning, and we were just down here visiting. I have a son, one of my sons lives up in Parish. We're down visiting, spending some time with our grandson, one of my grandchildren. I'm going to talk about grandchildren here in a second, because that's super important. So my wife calls me up, and one of the reasons why she went home, why she went back home and couldn't be here tonight, is because she had a doctor's appointment. So she goes to the doctor's appointment. This is in the state of Rhode Island. So Brian, you mentioned Rhode Island. Well, I'll tell you a little bit about Rhode Island. I'll tell you a lot about Rhode Island. So she goes to her appointment in Rhode Island this morning. Very important appointment. And when she gets into the lobby, the foyer of the medical clinic, they asked her, "Have you traveled in the last couple of weeks?" She said, "Yeah, I was down in Florida." They said, "Oh my God, you have to go quarantine for 2 weeks." Okay? And my wife she's Portuguese. She said, don't ever get in her way. And she said to the lady, "Well, what if I said I was from Maine?" And she goes, "Oh, that would have been fine." I mean, so that's now Rhode Island. And the governor of Rhode Island is, if she's not been confirmed yet, is about to be the Secretary of Commerce. Rhode Island is like number 50 in economic development. Sad. It's sad. It's one of the reasons why my wife and I are moving from Rhode Island down to Florida. It's a big deal. That's a big deal, because to unplug our lives again, it's an easy thing to do for us, I guess, because of the number of moves that we make over a military career, 20, 30 times. Well, I'll tell you what, Pete. Thank you. Part of who I am, and just a little bit of background, I grew up as the middle of 9 children. My brother Joe's here. He's the youngest of 9. We had my father's World War II Korea vet, tough guy. He was a master sergeant when he retired from the Army. Our family history is really service to the country in uniform primarily. Grandfathers, my father, my brother, a couple of my brothers. I have nieces and I have nephews still serving. At one time, myself and my brother and my son were all over in Afghanistan at the same time. Pretty amazing. And I still have my son Michael, who became sort of famous in this saga that I went through, that they dragged my entire family, they dragged really the country through. And I have another son who's stationed over in Korea. He's been there for 3 years. His entire family's over there. And people don't know that about you, but they attack you. They attack you because they're threatened by you. The President of the United States, prior to President Trump, and I will not use his name, but the President of the United States, prior to Donald Trump, in their transition briefing, in their transition meeting to transition the entire United States of America, the government of the United States of America, to transition, in that meeting, President speaks about two people, and many of the people in this room probably know this story. Talks about 2 people. One of them is Kim Jong-un, the dictator of North Korea, who's got his finger on a nuclear button, and General Mike Flynn. Wow. That was it. That was the topic of the conversation. And the funny part was that afterwards, when I saw Trump and he asked me about that, I said to him, you know, we were kind of joking about it because I said, really? I said, that's interesting. He goes, yeah. He said, I shouldn't hire you. And I said, well, what did you tell him? He says, I'm going to hire you. Now, I will tell you, though, because of what happened and the unknowing, going into the transition from the campaign to the administration and then into the White House, what you feel is going to happen, like anything else, you win the presidency, you're getting ready to go into the White House to help the country. My life is about service. It's been defined by service. I've been very consistent about it. So you go in there to help the country, and I know that Trump felt the same way. It's like he figured, okay, then. Okay? No problem. There. So, no problem. So, it's much better. Thanks. So we're going in there, and Trump really believed that after the election of 2016, that, you know, this is okay, tough campaign, this is the way we fight, I guess. You know, this is all new to him. It's new to me. Because I was on the sort of the ABH team, really, and even before I met Trump, going into, you know, thinking about what I was going to do. The ABH team, anybody know what that is? That's anybody but Hillary. So, anyway, the point is, with that period of time, Trump really believed that he was going to go in there into this country and he was going to do everything he could, a man that could have, you know, not done any of that stuff. And you've heard all that stuff. But he decided that he was going to do it. The reason why we connected was because we both believed in one thing. And that's the cloth right here. This beautiful, beautiful flag. Beautiful flag. And what it represents. And what it represents. Yeah. So the bigger issue on all this is that we really believed that we were going to be able to go in and make some really serious changes. And I'll tell you this, I'll tell this crowd this. I've said this to him and I've said this to others. And he knows this. Had I not departed the White House, and think about what I'm about to say, had I not departed the White House in the way that all transpired, and I'll get into that in another time specifically, but had I not left the White House, there would have never been a Mueller investigation. Okay? So think about that. Think about what we were dragged through. And when people go, well, they went after Flynn, they went after Trump. No, they didn't. People say to me, I'm so sorry for what happened to you. Don't feel sorry for me. Feel sorry for this country. Feel sorry for what they did to this country. And they are not done. They are not done. And so we cannot be done. The big sort of ticket items that I came away from through this journey that I have been on, and it's a journey because it's like the empty chair that was here that represented Jesus Christ. You don't know what you're put on this earth to do. You just know that you have to follow a particular path because that's the path that God put you on. So I'm standing up here today because of really my faith in God. I mean, just absolute. When everything was dark, when the valley of the shadow of death was there, I mean, all these things. I mean, they were trying to bury me, physically, literally, spiritually, everything. Bury me. The American people, through the grace of God, you know, if anybody that's ever buddy breathed scuba diving, right? The American people were buddy breathing with me for the last 4 years. So thank you very much for doing that. The people in this room that came through tonight and they were saying we were praying for you. Prayers are a weapon system. And they matter. I'm going to tell you, they matter because you're looking at a guy that is standing up on this stage talking to you all tonight because of your prayers. Amen. Prayers work. Now, I will tell you, I always say this. I say, well, but one of the things we have to do is we have to stop sitting and talking, and we have to stand and do it. Just as you are, I mean, just as he just said, I'm running for mayor of Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Thank you so much. That's exactly what has to happen. And you know something? Whether he wins or loses, if you lose, and by the grace of God, maybe you win. But if you lose, what you do is you put the fear of God into the person that wins, because they know now that their hold on power is just not going to be as strong, because there's people that are waiting in the wings. Guys like me, I will go, and I've said this, I will go to my grave. I will go to my grave. My life has been about service. I will go to my grave for the love of this country, to not have this country taken over by socialists, communists, or Marxists. So we can't. CPAC. I'm not a fan of CPAC. I'm not a fan of the Republican National Committee. If you want my advice on where to put your dollars, you put it in organizations like that one right there. If you give a dollar to the Republican National Committee after what they did to President Donald J. Trump, they screwed him. Okay? And I'm sorry. So the Republican National Committee and CPAC. Okay? CPAC did not. So I found out that CPAC would not invite myself or Sidney Powell, she's the guardian angel of American justice. So CPAC would not invite us because they were afraid that we were going to talk about the machines. That was the word I got. They were afraid we were going to talk about the machines. I mean, anybody following what's going on in New Hampshire right now? You follow what's going on in New Hampshire? They have machines that had some number of votes already put on the machines before the vote even started, before the day even started. Maricopa County, Arizona is about to be audited, 2.1 million. We know exactly what the problem is in Maricopa County. Now they're fighting tooth and nail. I mean, they're fighting against what we know to be true. That's just amazing to me. We cannot stand for that in this country. We cannot stand for that in this country. So, this is super important, and to me, it drives at the heart of what I believe and what I've seen and what I know. I mean, what the deep state took me through, took my family through, took President Donald J. Trump and his family through, took the presidency of the United States through, took this country through, and we are still experiencing it. We are still exposed to it. So don't kid yourself that this is politics as usual. So all the people in here that have been in the political arena, this is not politics as usual. There will be maybe a 2022. Okay? Maybe. And I say that because we really, really do have to pay attention to this House Resolution 1, which has already made its way through. It's got to be signed into law. I'm not sure that they're going to be ready by 2022. That's a bet that I'm making. I'm making that bet because I don't think they're going to be ready by 2022. But I know they're going to be ready. They're going to be ready by 2024. So 2022 it's like a cliff that this country is on. And I'm serious about this. I'm deadly serious about this. I mean, you're talking to a guy that they wish that they had buried physically. And so that's right. So when we are at this sort of precipice, like this edge of this stage, and we're standing there, and we're in this transition period in this country, a massive, massive transition period. And Abraham Lincoln, after the end of the Civil War, not made the unbelievable decision that he made, incredible decision that he made to say, no, we're not going to go and arrest every political leader in the South. We're not going to arrest every single general in the South. I want the word to get out that we are going to unify the nation. This is the United States of America. Let's unify this country. Okay? That man did us a big favor. He unified, we became the United States of America. This crowd that's in Washington, D.C., and that's the only place that they help hold power right now, because they don't hold it in this room. They do not hold it in this room. But what they want is they want what's called the United Socialist States of America. Okay? Thank God for the founding fathers, and a couple of people talked about them. I mean, men like John Locke, Adams, and Jefferson, Hamilton, Franklin. I mean, these were incredibly gifted visionaries. And one of the things that they knew, because they knew about tyrants, they knew about kings, they knew about tyranny, they lived it, they breathed it, they fought against it. George Washington lost every single battle, every single one. I mean, even the end result of the crossing of the Delaware, and then his battle down to Princeton. I mean, it was just this one long struggle of really losing everything. But what he kept alive was he kept the spirit of essentially the 4 million people that lived in the 13 colonies at that time. He kept that spirit alive. Today we have 320 million American citizens. Alex, who was an immigrant and who comes in here and he's a naturalized citizen. I mean, you know, like we heard another gentleman earlier today that said, I probably believe more in this country than most Americans do. And they really do. Yeah, that's right. I mean, they really do. And it's because they had to leave their country to come here. Why? Why did they? Exactly. So we have faith, the strength of my family, the knowledge of true friends, and many of you, or most of you, I think I met tonight for the first time. And when you say that you were praying for me and praying for my family, that's friendship to me. That's friendship to me. Because I had friends, right, as we define friends who you grow up with or you're around, and they just walked away. And boy, I'll tell you, you feel like you're hurt. It really, really hurts you because you're like turning and going, well, we haven't heard from so-and-so in a while, and haven't heard from so-and-so in a while. Or you hear somebody that you know, and they get on the TV somewhere or in some, one of these shows, and they start talking about you, you're like, wait a second. What the heck is going on? What kind of a person is that? I can tell you what kind of a person is that, and it's not words that I would use in this audience. But I will stand here tonight and tell you, just to say thank you very much for what you are doing, what you will do. There are solutions to our problems. There's a great woman who once wrote about the precinct volunteer on any election day. And anybody that's ever been a precinct volunteer on election day, thank you. That's the most powerful weapon that this party, this conservative movement in this country will have on an election day. Yes, sir. Look at what they did to the volunteers in Michigan, in Fulton County, Arizona, or Fulton County, Georgia. They threw them out of the room. I want people to stand there, and I want people to actually wear their boxing gloves going in the next time. Stand there and fight to stay there. Get the training. Watch these people. There is going to be cheating. There is going to be lying. There is going to be stealing. That's the MO. Let's not kid ourselves. Let's not kid ourselves. Everything that you heard, I mean, that story that was just told, this cancel culture, we have to cancel that. We cannot have that kind of attitude. We can't have this political correctness. I can't stand these politicians. And next week I'm going into Oklahoma. I'm going into Oklahoma, and I'm going to go help a great gentleman by the name of Pastor Jackson Lohmeyer, who's going to primary against Langford, Senator Langford. And no fan of that man. And Langford, I hope that you're watching tonight because we're coming after you. Yeah. 20 Republican senators voted for Merrick Garland to be the Attorney General. Okay? I hope that some of you watch some of what they didn't even hardly ask him any questions. Lindsey Graham, South Carolina. Lindsey Graham, a week ago said, I can't vote for him. He hasn't answered any of my questions. He voted for him. I'm done. I'm probably done with politics, too. But this political correctness, it cannot stand. Okay, understanding our country, understanding our Constitution. And I always carry one of these. Like I said, it's 4,500 words. It takes the average American about 30 minutes to read it. Read the damn thing. Read it. Somebody mentioned House Resolution 8. House Resolution 8. 4 Republicans signed that. So those 4 Republicans need to go. I don't worry about the Democrats anymore. It's kind of like the enemy on the battlefield. When the enemy tells you they're going to do something, you better damn listen. And then you focus on what you have to do to defeat them. Okay? I know what the Democrats are going to do. I know their game plan. They have exposed themselves in a massive way. So what we have to do is we have to get our act together. We have to stop all this bickering. What Michael talked to you about earlier, there's 200,000 Republicans in this area right out here. 200,000, well, whatever. I mean, but it's 200,000 is an unbelievable number. And the Republican Party of this state, I'm not from this state yet, but the Republican Party of this state does not care about those people. We have to, this party, the Republican Party versus this conservative movement that this country, it has. There's a lot of people that have, buyer's remorse with Biden. A lot of Democrats, a lot. Right, whatever, 65 executive orders right now. The next most historically was Obama with 6 at this point in time. 65. We have to stop, these party officials have to stop looking down their nose with their sense of arrogance as though they're better than that. Because I can tell you one thing, because nobody's mentioned China. So I'm going to mention China, right? China. So for the well-to-do in here, for the people that are donors, and you have a place out on one of these beautiful keys, let me tell you how the Chinese party works, okay? So I've seen this in other countries. You know how the Chinese party works? Chinese party officials are already looking at the property that they're going to take over. Okay? They're already looking at the property that they want, right? I mean, one of the great landmarks in the United States of America is in New York City. It's called the Waldorf. They own it. Okay, the Sears Tower in Chicago, another major landmark in the United States of America. They own it. The Chinese own 30 million acres of land in the United States of America. 30 million. And believe me, it ain't the swamps of the Everglades. 30 million. So how does that happen? How does that happen? How it happens is we are complacent. We have these elected officials at county, at state, and at federal level that are looking this way, and they're taking that greenback and they're slipping it in their pocket. I mean, the things that I can talk about with people like Governor Kemp, Governor Contempt in Georgia, what he's done to defy the people of his state. Thank God. I can tell you what the Democratic Party was trying to do for the last 10 years during the Obama administration. They were trying to basically take over this state, and that's why you saw in Texas, for a guy named Beto O'Rourke, they spent $300 million to run in the senatorial campaign against Ted Cruz. $300 million. The guy's a goofball. I'm sorry, Beto. I mean, but I'm actually getting a little Irish here, $300 million for that guy, and now he's talking about he might go back and run for governor. And the whole reason why is because if you take, now I'm into the political landscape of the Electoral College. If you take Florida and Texas, and you get those 2 states, and they are working hard on those 2 states. If you get those 2 states, New York, California, and of course the West Coast is done anyway. But you get those 4 states right there. So Texas and Florida are critical. You get those 4 states, you're done. You're done. So that's what they've been trying to do. They couldn't do it. So, like I said at the beginning, DeSantis almost got beat. And I didn't think he was strong enough then. He has stepped up to the plate. He really has. He really has. And he's proven himself to be a really tough fighter, and that's a good thing. But he almost got beat, folks. And believe me, they're going to come after this state again. So if you're not out there hooking and jabbing in the precincts, in your parishes, in your counties, then figure out how you need to do that. Get involved. There's no more standing in line and voting. Voting matters, and voting's important. But you have to do more than voting. It's like I tell people about prayer. Praying is it's the most powerful weapon system. Because what prayer does is it brings the warrior spirit out in you. And remember the story about David and Goliath. I mean, so Jesus Christ didn't just, make these peaceful prayer warriors, right? He actually created warriors. He created fighters. He created those of us who wanted to stand up for that flag and kneel down when it came time to pray. And not worry about what others thought. Do not let people define you. I am not going to be defined by the media. I refused that line a long time ago. And don't allow that to happen to us. Don't allow this name-calling, racism. Don't allow this stuff. Fight back. Thank you to the owners of this place to stand there and say, I'm willing to do that. I'm willing to open my place up. Service to this country, because I always get those people that go, I didn't serve my country. I wasn't in uniform, or I thought, I wanted to join or whatever. I mean, stop that. Stop that and think about how you serve in other ways. Because not everybody's designed or made to be in the military. Okay? That's okay. That's fine. Because you serve in different ways. You serve in your communities, you serve in your businesses, you serve in your churches, you serve your families. This Democratic Party took God out of their platform in 2012. They want to make the state take care of your families. Parents need to take care of families. But they will do that to us. Okay? Think about how you need to serve this country going forward. And if you have that calling, like in 2019 or just now, if you feel like you have that calling, then get up and do something about it, and be vocal. Be vocal in these town or parish council meetings, these school board meetings. And if you haven't been, think about how you can do that. That's how we're going to do it. It's grassroots. The founders of this country were bold, and they took bold steps, and they were all, they literally died for that. They died for it. So what we need right now is we need bold people. We need bold American citizens. We need bold patriots to stand up and do anything and everything that you can in your power with the talents that God gave you. Maximize your potential and get out there in your communities. Talk to others. Because we were talking about, Antifa and Black Lives Matter. 35 police officers were killed this past summer. 3,000 were wounded. 35 killed in the line of duty against this Antifa nonsense and this Black Lives Matter movement, which is allowed to have a website and you can donate to it. It's unbelievable. So, and then billions and billions of dollars in damage. Some of it shown on the video tonight. Everybody saw it. Everybody witnessed that this summer. So service. Children. I have 2 sons. I have 3 grandchildren. I have another one on the way. And I will tell you, so I tell this story because my mother was tough Irish lady, and she lived till she was 90 years old. And she died a couple of years ago, 2014. And I have a granddaughter who looks like her, actually, Brookie. And I say to my son, this is a son that's over in Korea, when I look at my granddaughter, Brooke, when I look at her, by the turn of this coming century, so the next century, okay, by the turn of it, when the next century turns, when this one's done, so 79 more years from now, she will not even be the age of my mother. Okay? So when I my vision of this country, when we think about history and we look backwards, and we try to vision and have some sort of vision about what might be in the future, I look at my granddaughter, and she'll be roughly 86 years old by the time that this century closes. 86, it's not that old. It's not that old. My mother, I met a woman yesterday, or 2 days ago, 102 years old. Beautiful woman. She escaped communism. She escaped Cuba in 1961. So I look at my granddaughter and I look at that beautiful child and I say, God, what do I want this country to be for you? And just like our parents, your parents, they said to themselves, to each other, he said, I want to give you a better life than I had, right? That's what you want to do for your children. And that's what I want to do for my grandchildren. And I'm going to do everything that I can in my power, in the talents that God gave me, and in this world that I've been put in, on this path that I've been put on. I'm going to do everything that I can to make sure that she has a better America than I have. And the only way that that's going to happen is if we stand up and we're willing to take a few body blows, and we're willing to take the name calling, we're willing to take the cancellation, fight back with a lawsuit, or however you do it. However you do it. I will say that the thing that the left hates most about me, they hate it. Because they, if a lot will remember, or some will remember, they said he was the angry general. So they were trying to define me, they were trying to box me in. And I'm not angry. I love this country. You will not find a hateful bone in my body. And even some of the things we saw tonight, I'm not going to judge somebody. There will be a judge of all of us at the right time.
Yes, sir.
And it will happen. And it will happen. It's just, that's the way it is. So I'm not going to judge people for who they are or what they choose. What I will tell you is that there's one thing that I absolutely believe in, and that's the United States of America. I spent my life, I was willing to give my life to this country. I still am. And I will stand here tonight and tell you that with your support, and I mean meaningful, disciplined, courageous, bold, however you want to be, however you want to define it, you have got to get involved. You've got to walk away from this moment, and when you go back to your little communities, and you go back to your hometowns, you go back to your networks, back to your email lists, or however you operate, wherever you function, fight this cancel culture, fight this political correctness, fight this Marxist march that is marching from Washington, D.C. into the hometowns of the United States of America, because it's happening. It's happening. Pay very, very close attention. They say, oh, call up my senator. Let's call the senator. I tried to call him the other day just to see, because I know it doesn't work. Just to see. I got the Capitol operator. They said, put me on hold. And it was like a minute. I hung up. And so, what I'm going to do, my activism is going to be to do this kind of stuff. And I'm going to go. I'm not going against the Democrats. I'm going out there after people, and I'm looking for patriots. I'm looking for citizens who have the courage to stand up and talk about this country, talk about our Constitution, and fight for this country. That's what I'm looking for. Faith, family, friendship, those three things are the foundation of our country. They are intertwined like we've never had. You cannot have freedom without faith. You cannot have freedom without a strong family, and that family is you and I, or our own families, together, working together to try to save this country. And then the friendship. You're going to find out who your friends are. You're going to find out who your friends are. And you just met one tonight, again, and that's me.
Yeah.
So we cannot allow, like Oklahoma next week, and this gentleman is going to beat Senator Langford, okay, who stands there, and he's the perfect guy. He's the perfect guy. He's a perfect politician. Clean and neat, looks down his nose at you. He's the type of person who stands in a room and you're in there trying to talk to him, and you're standing there talking to him, he's looking past you. He's going like this. Because he's wanting to see who else is in there, because you're not that important. He's going to find that out. I pray that he finds that out. I really do. But what he's going to learn that if he slides through, he better wake up and see the the roses or the flowers or the writing on the wall. Because the American people, we have this thing called the Constitution, and we're going to keep it. We are not going to let the Constitution be torn apart.
No, sir. No way.
The judiciary is not going to solve your problems or our problems. I've been saying this since the 4th of November. Do not count on the judges to win the election. They didn't win the election in 2000 in Florida. They didn't. One county. They did not win the election. The Supreme Court didn't say, oh yeah, Bush is the winner. All they did was they voted, they sat there and they looked at the constitutionality of what was happening in that county, in that one county. So these 9 judges on our Supreme Court lacked total courage, no courage. I mean, John Roberts, either tell us that that's not your name on the manifest twice. That's the Just tell it. I mean, just say it. If that was some other name like mine, if Mike Flynn's name was on that manifest and it wasn't me, I'd come out and say it. I'd come out and say it. So just say it. And I'm being really mean now, because that's mean. But I will tell you that the judges in this country, trust me, I have lived and breathed the judiciary. The judges that I witnessed and the things that I know about judges in this country are horrible. So don't count on the judiciary. Don't count on it. It's sad. And you hope you get a good judge. There's one good judge up in Antrim County, Michigan. One guy who says, I'm going to follow the law. I'm going to look at the Constitution says this. It overturned the election. For anybody that's following Michigan, he overturned the election. He went from, Biden back to Trump. One county, because what did they do? They looked at the machines. Unbelievable. So, fight. Don't quit. Never quit. Never give up. And I will tell you that you're looking at a guy that will not. I will go to my grave for my grandchildren today or 10 years from now, and I always say I'm going to outlive these bastards. So God bless you, and God bless America.